Coming up today on Locked On Texas Tech, similarities between a college football spring game and the dodo bird. Are there any? We explore next on Locked On Texas Tech.
You are Locked On Texas Tech, your daily podcast on the Texas Tech Red Raiders, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
We're going to start this thing off right. Raider! Everything runs through Lubbock.
Great to be with you again on Locked On Texas Tech on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day, always free and available on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts. And today's episode brought to you by Monopoly Go. If you have a competitive side, then you're going to be a big fan of Monopoly Go, the mobile hit twist on classic Monopoly. Join your friends. Download Monopoly Go for free today in the App Store or on Google Play. With the only Chris Level, I'm Casey Cowan. Chris, great to be back with you as we wrap up the week and doing it in a way that was not necessarily anticipated, as we have had a spring game adjustment. You can correct me where I go wrong here, but I think we had initially a transition, possibly weather-related, back to the LBK. We're going to try and get something together here. And then it turns out, I think we may be just going to practice indoors or run something along those lines on Saturday, because we're expecting rain here in Lubbock on Saturday as well. And that's going to lead us today to a larger conversation about the future of these things. We'll take a listen to Red Raider defensive coordinator Tim DeRuyter, who actually spoke on this in a roundabout way just a few days ago. You may have noticed some programs across the country totally revamping what they're doing as far as spring games are concerned, and we'll get into some of the why. But I know from a fan standpoint, disappointing, Chris, as some take this as a spring holiday to celebrate Red Raider football. And that's probably, I guess, who will be more impacted by this at the end of the day than anyone. The team will still be able to get some time in, and maybe even more productive time, honestly, than what you might get out of a spring game setting now. But some of those grills will not be fired up. Some of those beers will not be drank. And for that, I am very sad for the Tech fan base.
Yeah, the weather is just it's going to wreak havoc on this part of the state, really, no matter the city that you're in. It's just like, cold, and just basically like the percentages are pretty close to 100 on rain, like all day. And I don't think I think that they got away from Midland because you don't want to be there. Like, okay, we're 2 hours away. There's a because of lightning or something, there could be a delay, and it just would have been a logistical mess. And what are we doing this for? And you're really doing it for, there's so many great folks. Tim Culp, who I've known for a long time, one of the regents, and there's so many other Midland-based folks that give so much and are such a part of Texas Tech. And I think the ticket office people would tell you that I think that's the second, like the Permian Basin area is the second most season ticket holder portion of the fan base, percentage wise, but by far, other than Lubbock. And so, you've always kind of tipped your cap to the Midland Odessa area, playing a baseball game out there, playing a basketball game when you had finals going on in your arena. Tech played Houston Baptist a couple years ago there on the campus of Midland College, I guess it was. So anyways, I think that's the bigger thing is you're trying to, you can't really do it because of construction and all these things. So let's get it to Midland. But once you maybe have a conversation with those folks and be like, hey, man, we're sorry, but this is it's going to be a bit of a mess. We may have to punt on this, and it was going to be fun. However, I don't know if this is the best use of our time based on Mother Nature and all that stuff. And so once you get past that, you're like, yeah, man, let's just stay at the crib on a Saturday and play a home game, literally.
Yeah, I don't know. As I said a moment ago, I think you might even wind up with something maybe a little bit more effective as far as what you got going on team-wise with whatever you run through on Saturday. But you were getting into a situation where you were trying to really kind of, I guess, spice it up or make it a little bit more interesting with some of the things you were going to be changing. But it's a fan event, and I guess it always has been. This has been about a decade and a half or so where I feel like a spring game really got on the radar in West Texas, and there was maybe a peak at which people were a little bit more interested in it. Then I feel like it kind of, cycled back the other way. When I was growing up as a youngster, you could have said spring game to me, and I would have had no clue what that even meant. It just wasn't on the calendar as a sports fan. But then it really became kind of, I don't want to say like appointment television or whatever, but you did get a television broadcast. You had butts in the seats. It became a little bit of a bigger thing, but something we'll get into in just a moment, Chris. I wonder if it's kind of reached its peak, and for a variety of reasons that we will outline. I wonder if cyclically speaking, maybe we're kind of on the downslope as far as these things in some locales, not all, but in some locales.
Yeah, I mean, I've been a part of the TV broadcast for these, whether it was actual TV or streaming platform or whatever, like ESPN Plus. For 10 years, 12 years. So I've done it with Robert Giovanetti, with David Thetford, with John Harris. We did radio one time for it. Doing radio is very difficult with a game like this. Doing TV for games like this are very difficult just because of all the non-normal aspect of it here. So many players that even I'm not familiar with involved, new additions at the semester and different scoring systems. And then they get down there and like, hey man, let's run that drill again, or let's run some more red zone stuff. And you're up there in the booth going, okay, now what are they doing? You're trying to figure, you don't have any, because it's not like a real game, right. And all those things. So yeah, they're difficult to maneuver through. But again, like you said, it's fans, man, and I'm a list guy. I have many lists just around my office, at home, in front of me right now. I'm a big check off the list kind of stuff. And so I always looked at it as the spring game was something you checked off the list because you knew that you were that much closer to, okay, we're through that portion of the calendar. Now we'll kind of look ahead to Big 12 Media Days, in mid-July. And then you get the first day of practice and you just start checking stuff off the list until the season gets here. So, because you can't get the season unless you get the spring and the red and black game out of the way. Right. But yeah, they're always and always have been a bit tricky. But like personally, I mean, I would have shown up, but I want to see Josh Kelly. I would have wanted to see like the Micah Hudson, Cam Dickey. Maybe like a Marcus Ramon Edwards. What's he look like? We've been hearing about this kid. All those kinds of things. That's maybe the football junkie in me that is very invested emotionally into the program, and you want to see some of these new pieces and all that. So that's why I think fans would have been more interested to tune in than otherwise, because of all the immediacy of the new guys that you had.
Yeah, you remind me of kind of the alternate side of the junkie thing. I don't know if football actually plays into it, but I remember the first year that we took it down to Midland at formerly Grande Communications Stadium, I think. And I go to stay with a buddy down there who's living there, and he's getting the smoker out and everything. We're going to the parking lot the next day. We had a pretty good Friday night, I will say, before the Saturday. So we get it out there, and I go into the stadium because I'm wanting to see a few things, that are happening, and he's going to be trailing behind me after we do a little imbibing in the parking lot. My man never makes it into the stadium. And so when eventually I reconvene with him and some other friends in the parking lot, I'm just telling him, so you just drug a smoker to a strange parking lot and sat in it all day as opposed to your backyard? He's like, well, yeah, and I had a good time. So, I mean, everybody does the spring game a little bit differently. Kind of up to you guys out there, I suppose, as to how you process it. But yes, for some, football is not even a part of it. And I guess that could go for a fall game day as well. Some of you have to be reminded there's a football game even actually happening down on that field. But anyway, not going to have it that way this time around. And I'm wondering, are we ever going to have it that way that we were accustomed to again? And let's get into some of why we're asking those questions, Chris. And I don't know if everybody caught this earlier in the week, but there's a pretty interesting comment made by Texas Tech defensive coordinator Tim DeRuyter as to some of his spring game plans on his side of the ball as far as personnel and what they're going to be doing. But in general, a bigger picture as to maybe what the new trend is going to be across the college football landscape. Let's take a listen to Red Raider DC, Tim DeRuyter.
Spring games, in a lot of ways, we're going to be fairly vanilla on both sides of the ball. So it's our fans can see our teams and see everybody play, but there's usually not a lot of growth in that particular scrimmage. I don't know if y'all saw what Coach Kiffin did on Saturday or heard the word. Did y'all hear? I mean, they had a dunk contest. With the way the transfer portal is now, nobody wants to put their guys out there and let other people poach off of, oh, hey, that backup tackle for Ole Miss is pretty good. Let's call his high school coach and find out if he's happy there. That's the world we live in right now. So our guys will play, but I don't know how much the starters will play, and we really get an opportunity to see, those 2s and 3s. Are they ready to make that jump?
So some other things being impacted by this portal era, and I guess that could include spring games going the way of the dodo bird potentially, but not necessarily why we might assume. More so because we're going Fort Knox. We're keeping cards close to the vest. We're not going to give anyone an opportunity to scout a future transfer, I guess, if I'm hearing this correctly. Is this what you're hearing, Chris? First, today's episode brought to you by Monopoly Go, and we've all been there, either as a player or a fan. It's halftime of the big game, and the scoreboard's not looking too good. You're feeling low. You're not sure you or your team are going to be able to pull out a win, and that's when you dig deep, lift your head up, and say to yourself, it's time to get back in the game and take as much of my friends' money as I possibly can. And you can do just that with the smash hit mobile game Monopoly Go. Monopoly Go lets you compete with your friends to get the most riches and the biggest empire. It's the Monopoly you love, but on your phone, anytime, with tons of new twists, including leaderboards to compare your progress to your buddies and tell them all about it whenever you're kicking their butts. You can also play on countless dynamic Monopoly boards, make your friends bankrupt by smashing their landmarks with the wrecking ball, or charge other players rent for your iconic properties. You can even work with your friends to crack open community chests and in tournaments to get extra rewards and climb the leaderboard. So get back out there, put on your game face, and download Monopoly Go today for free in the App Store or on Google Play. Today's episode brought to you by eBay Motors, and eBay Motors has you covered with everything you need to maintain your vehicle and keep that ride or die ride on the road. Or if you're just looking to elevate your car's game to the next level of performance, they got what you're looking for with roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, superchargers, and accessories of all kinds to fit your style. Whether you're looking for speed, power, or design, eBay Motors has you covered with over 122 million parts to perfectly fit what you need. So just head over today to ebay.com/motors, where you're going to always find exactly what you're looking for, and with no risk because of eBay's guaranteed fit. Your part is guaranteed to fit just right every time, or your money back, keeping you burning rubber and not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to keep your ride or die ride on the road and moving your life forward at ebay.com/motors. eBay guaranteed fit, only available to U.S. customers, eligible items only, exclusions do apply. We're not going to give anyone an opportunity to scout a future transfer, I guess, if I'm hearing this correctly. Is this what you're hearing, Chris?
Yeah, so and let me rewind it back. So what Ole Miss did, and I think this was televised, but the reason I know that is because I think that there was some griping from people like Phil Steele and some other football purists out there. But they had basically what I don't know, Calvin, do you remember the elementary school days when you had like field day toward the end of the school year, and it's you got the 3-legged sack race, or the 3-legged race, the potato sack race, the 100-yard dash, there's that one girl like in third grade that matured faster than everybody else. She's just smoking all the dudes. Shout out to Daisha Scott. Yeah, there you go. And maybe there was a snow cone, but at the end of the day, you got to wear like your cleats or soccer shoes to school, and you got out of the school early and all that stuff. It was just a good fun day. It's like everybody loved field day. I don't have to sit in the classroom. Yeah, absolutely. And what
was your event, Chris?
I was the fastest guy in school.
Is that right?
And I don't. There's rumors that I had a head start, but I'm not confirming.
You refused to run again. The result was what the result was.
That's what I'm saying, man. I mean, I don't need to.
Straight line speed was not my thing, but bear crawl, see me in that bear crawl, you're going to see trouble, buddy. Just curious. Sorry to
yeah, like the wheelbarrow race.
That's
you
right.
know, and you're holding your come on. You know, golly, we were probably all in a lot better shape way back then.
I guess so. Yeah.
Woo. So they did a tug of war. They did a dunk contest, a hot dog. They got who's the famous hot dog eater?
Chestnut, Joey Chestnut.
Yeah, Joey Chestnut. They got him in there for hot dog eating display. They did some 7-on-7. They just kind of turned it into a fun, day where, obstacle course, like the old superstars that used to be on ABC back in the day with all the different celebrities / professional athletes and all these things. Anyway, so they put this thing together. And then there was some griping about it. Well, that's what, I think it was Lane Kiffin's way of, and do you think Lane Kiffin cares if anybody's criticizing him? I mean, he doesn't get, I want to say something that I don't, that wouldn't be approved of on the deal, but he doesn't care, if you don't like what they chose to do. So that's what Coach DeRuiter was kind of referencing. It's like, okay, they kind of had an event, but it wasn't really a spring game. They kind of skirted it. But there's a couple of things with spring games, and that's what Tim is talking about, is like a lot of times he uses the word vanilla. There's not much scheme ever here, okay? There's just not. They don't want to show much. It's basically some base scheme, this and that, because and coaches do. They take a peek at, if they're on your schedule for the next year, they're going to study it and they're going to watch it. They're going to check personnel groups and just see if there's anything they can pick up that they could use. So there's one thing, okay, as far as, the scheme. And that's why you hear the word vanilla. But the new thing, and this is, I think, much more of a thing, I think now that the portal window is now, like we are in the midst of it right now, I think there's a lot of teams out there that don't want to put, their team on film and have people evaluating like backups or hey man, we need to fill this spot. Let's go find somebody. Well, Michigan's spring game was the other day. Let's, like that's what he's referencing, I think it's a new day and time. And so I think this is going to become fairly prevalent on the non-activity with spring games going forward. As long as this portal window remains this way, I think it's a bit tricky. And I don't think coaches want to chance it. And the only way that I see this reversing course as a trend is that the TV partners that are paying the dollars say, this is part of your deal now. And we want you to put something on TV because like Fox had Ohio State, like Network Fox had Ohio State's on last weekend from 11 to 1. And it was there was a ton of people there, pretty much a normal football game. They kind of got after it. They may not have to worry about anybody poaching their guys, as well as the rumors are that some of them are being paid, but you get what I'm saying. Otherwise, like if left up to your own decision, which I think like in Texas Tech's case, this is not a mandatory deal. They would just do it to, show the fans their product or whatever, but it's a third tier rights deal that they've more than done enough events to qualify for what ESPN and their contract is asking them to do. And so it's like, hey, we'll just won't do it. The weather's bad. We're going to do it indoor, all those kinds of things. So sorry for the long answer, but I think it's kind of what you're looking at now.
Well, and we get into these copycat situations so often where you look over at your neighbor and the neighbor may be in Oxford, Mississippi or wherever. And you're thinking, okay, well, wait, why are they not doing this way anymore? And then their reasoning might resonate with you. And then you say, okay, I'm not doing this anymore. And then the next guy looks at you and says, well, why are they not doing it? I mean, this would, I could see sweep like wildfire, to be honest. And again, how many coaches out there or programs are really invested in a spring game? I think the list is relatively short. Maybe there are some Ohio States of the world. They're like, no way, this is a tradition and we're going to continue to do this, et cetera. But the list is a lot longer of those who are like, yeah, I don't mind tinkering with this. I don't mind not going through this. And Chris, I'm curious, even before the weather component entered the mix, I know there'd been a rumor out there that a TV broadcast was not going to be a part of this Texas Tech thing anyway, or it had been changed or adjusted. Was that just online fodder, or was there any of that conversation actually happening?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know all the reasons, but yeah, John Harris and I were supposed to do TV. We were told, I don't know, early in the week that, hey, we're not gonna, and maybe it was because of the weather forecast and like don't want to, because anytime this rain has been in the forecast for a while, and maybe they were going to have to produce a non-home game, so you don't have everything just on your home turf, and so. Yeah, they're but I don't know the reasoning other than I wasn't told why. It didn't matter. But David Hoagland reached out to me, who does a phenomenal job of all the in-house broadcasting for Texas Tech, and this would have been that. So, but I just think the trend is going to be weather, regardless of weather. This is it's easy for them to decide this year to move it and then to just say, hey, we're going to do it indoor, because the weather is just supposed to not be pleasant. And you just don't want to deal with some big weather delay for a spring game, for goodness sakes. But
can you imagine?
Oh, I mean,
yeah.
And Tim tells you right there, because see, Tim, and if you listen to Tim too, he's a former head coach. Mm-hmm. So he's seen this not just from the coordinator view of things, but he's seen it from the head coach's perspective. And a lot of coaches will tell you that it's like a, I don't want to like diminish it, because I do think it does serve a purpose, and we've kind of established that, but it really is like a glorified practice that really is set up for recruiting. Okay. Bring people in. It's set up for fans. You get some pomp and circumstance going on, and I'll be, they'll have one next year that I think they'll want to show off their new, stadium that would be done and everything, talking about Texas Tech. But from a team standpoint, it's like, we're not going to play our ones much. We're going to dumb down the scheme. And Tim mentions there, you don't get a lot of growth out of this opportunity. Yeah. So maybe, who knows how much that really factors in, but maybe they'll get more of a normal situation in the indoor on Saturday, which will be tomorrow, out of the rain, and get more out of it than they would have in Midland or out in the stadium with everybody watching, and you having to kind of, make it real plain, So sure. Anyway, but that's kind of it's just kind of a fascinating thing. And with the portal window being what it is, and coaches just not, I don't know. It's just interesting. All the different dynamics here.
You may have already answered my question, but I was going to ask for a 365-day out prediction. Will we get another as we know it a year from now? It sounded like you said you think so.
Well, they will have something. Now, is it on TV? Is it open to the public? Is it,
is it a scrimmage?
That would be the question you would want to know. But I do think I'll be shocked if you don't have a red and black game in your stadium next April. Now whether, somebody like me is asked to help broadcast it, and whether they want to push it out like that, I don't know. I don't know what dynamics would be in place between now and then. And, obviously the weather would be something to monitor as well. So anyway, but yeah, I would think that this isn't going to just go away. But see, that's what, like, the TV folks, they call the shots in most things. And so that's the only thing that I think would ultimately like change it to where it's more uniform across the board. Because like, I don't think Baylor's game is on TV. I think I saw during the Arkansas Texas Tech baseball game, it's big SEC promotion on ESPN these days. And you're getting like, hey, tune in Saturday for the Arkansas, the A&M, the South Carolina, I think were the three schools that they were promoting their spring game. So they're going to put it on. But I don't think Baylor is. Utah just played theirs on TV the other day. And I say TV is in streaming, or it was you may have to go find it, but it was available there. So anyway.
I'm going to say no. 365 days from now, we do not get what we're accustomed to as far as a red-black spring game. Maybe the field day thing, maybe something else like a meet and greet. I don't know. Maybe Joey McGuire's got his smoker out at the 50-yard line serving brisket, and I know where you can find it, Coach. 3CJ Cattle Company. Check us out. But I'm going to say no. And go ahead and write that down. Let's circle back a year from now, and we'll see if we were close to being right, close to being wrong, or what exactly the future will hold. But I'm going to say that as we know it, it will go the way of the dodo bird. Maybe we get something different. I don't know. Maybe they play a movie on the big screen and we just get to hang out. But it does seem kind of like a fan event. Maybe you don't want to lose. Recruiting event, you don't want to lose. But that could be done so many different ways outside of what we're accustomed to. So, okay, let us know what you think there in the YouTube comments. And if you had plans to party in a parking lot in Midland, maybe you can still see that through. I don't know. Maybe they'll let you set up a tent, have a little rain protection there, and still get the smoker out. Support the beef industry. Appreciate all you doing that. If you got pork on the grill, what are you doing? Let's go ahead and straighten that up ASAP. Before we're out of here, Chris, we've got another portal entry to consider. First, today's episode brought to you by Yahoo Finance. Wouldn't it be great if you could see all of your investment and retirement accounts in one place? Well, with Yahoo Finance, you can consolidate your views from multiple accounts into one hub and access the expert analysis you need to tend to your entire portfolio with confidence. When it comes to your financial future, you may think you've done it all. You've saved, you've researched, you've invested all that you can, but now you need to take those investments to the next level by using what every financial great uses. Yahoo Finance. For more than 25 years, Yahoo Finance has been the brand behind every great investor. And whether you're a seasoned investor or are looking for that extra guidance, Yahoo Finance gives you all the tools and data you need in just one place. They're the number one finance destination, producing a holistic look at the financial news cycle, including breaking news, original editorial perspectives, analyst ratings, independent research, customizable charts, and a whole lot more. And with a community of over 90 million users each month, their real strength is helping you on your way to financial success. So for comprehensive financial news and analysis, visit the brand behind every great investor at yahoofinance.com, the number one financial destination. That's yahoofinance.com, yahoofinance.com. Let's get to this. Landon Hullaby is going to be entering the transfer portal. This may not be a name that is all that familiar to a lot of Texas Tech fans, but has an interesting backstory because this is a dude who had recognizable offer after recognizable offer whenever he became a Red Raider not too long ago. And even more so interesting because as you see roster spot or scholarship spot numbers continue to move, you kind of wonder then what Texas Tech may be able to do with that on the other side as far as possibly some incoming players. So what did you make of this announcement?
Yeah, he's a guy that honestly I had not heard a lot about really since he got here. And there's so many guys on a football team, and you don't know a lot about some of them. And when they kind of get into my view, it's they're either playing or you're hearing about how good they're doing or whatever. But he's just somebody that wasn't ever on my radar. And I think a lot of it had to do with a hip injury and a shoulder injury that he's just kind of been dinged up since he's been here. Sometimes this happens, man. And you can't everybody's not going to be clean from an injury standpoint. Some guys are just snake bit, or they just don't hit their groove. And so maybe he just needs to change of scenery. But this is a guy, man. I mean, like, let me just list off his offers here for you. Because this is a guy back in the class of 22. Like basically, it was Joey's first class. They flip him from Oregon because Marcel Yates and Tim DeRuyter were coming. He was committed to Oregon, but he's from Mansfield. He's a Metroplex guy. But you're talking, Arkansas, Auburn, Baylor, Colorado, Kansas, Kansas State, Missouri, Nebraska, Notre Dame, Oklahoma State, SMU, Texas, USC, Utah, TCU. I mean, this was a guy that you're like, he was a 3-star and all those things, but you're like, whoa, but it just never really a part of, I think a lot of that has to do with injury. He only played in 5 games in his career at Texas Tech. He's got 3 years left to play. But it's enough, and he was a safety. But it does kind of point to us talking about if you're going out there and looking for incoming. I do think now with 2 DBs departing, I do think DB is certainly somebody that if you found the right fit, that depth, insurance, special teams help, however you want to phrase it, I could see where DB would be like something you're looking to bring in here. So if you have something that makes sense to you out there. So. Yeah. But because that's now, what is that? Four have departed, Trey Brown, Bryson Donnell, and then Anquan Willis and now Landon Hullaby. And these are all guys just looking at several people ahead of them on the depth chart.
And didn't we have a fifth, the Watts kid?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Campbell. Okay. Yeah. So you're right. I just referenced him. See, I just told you about the second DB. So, geez. Yeah. Because that was like the week before. So, See, excuse me. How quickly we
your excuse, Chris.
We slip up. Yeah. I'm going to blame the weather and the rain and everything.
Yes. Yeah. A little foggy.
Yeah. So that's 5. Sorry. Yeah. 2 DBs, a D tackle, and 2 running backs. I literally had just said that's 2 DBs, and then I'm counting them off, and I forgot it. I mean, come on. Yeah. So, but that position would make some sense on maybe adding, because you play so many of them in different packages, and those guys spill over into special teams, and that's why I say that. So. Yeah, you've lost 2 of your scholarship guys there from a defensive backfield standpoint, but he was pretty highly recruited.
Yeah, interesting to see it not work out, unfortunately. Curious as to where he may land on the other side, and curious as to what may be landing in the 806 as far as incoming. So whether it's DBs, we've talked quarterbacks, offensive line, keep your head on a swivel for some of those maybe coming to fruition soon. And I'd just like to extend an invitation, Chris, to you and John Harris. If you just need something to broadcast tomorrow, you can come on over to the crib and give me some newborn play-by-play. Oh, she's filled up her 3rd diaper of the morning. Oh, look at that. She's doing something adorable. Yes, that must be Casey's kid doing something adorable again. And I don't know, 3 diapers in the morning. Do I need to switch her off maybe the decaf or something like that? Coffee hitting a little hard. But if you need something to do, I'll be around, so let me know.
And Harris may, in fact, have a wide open Saturday because was now going to do some baseball. Well, if the weather is what we think it'll be all day long, that's right. I think I've seen like starting at around 3 or 4 a.m. going till about 6 or 7 p.m. Hard to play baseball and some of that stuff, especially if there's any thunder and lightning going on. But I'll send him your way, man.
All right, I'm just thinking of other ideas,
He's a tech legend, man. He's an icon. Yes, definitely. Absolutely.
I'm trying to think next year too. Like, I mentioned maybe Joey McGuire's cooking us a brisket at the 50-yard line. Are we going to have anything else he can climb? I know he's a climber, so I'm trying to think what cranes are going to be on the scene. We've got some time to figure this out. And
I'd like to keep him on the ground. I want my head coach safe. Yeah, he's.
Well, we got to come up with something. So we got 365 days. For the most part,
he could stand on top of one of the new video boards and like zip line down to the 50, which is Mike Leach. That was always his idea. We'll put a guy on top of the video board, and he can just zip line waving a pirate flag down to the deal. And that could be like the entrance. Yeah, I know. I've told you that story before. I think Gerald Myers at the time was like, I don't think that's a good idea. and it was like, is Mike being serious or is he joking? I think he's being 100% serious, but I get why Coach Myers or anybody that he would have suggested that to would have asked that question, because it's like, you never knew with old Mike. But anyway.
No time like the present for the Mike Leach Memorial Zip Line. I think let's get that sucker installed while we got some construction crews on the scene. Maybe now from Double T scoreboard to the Titantron on the north end, just all the way across. Every time the Red Raiders are scoring a touchdown, here comes Zipline Raider. You remember Roof Raider or Roof Possum? Here's Zipline Possum coming across the field. I don't know. I'm just spitballing here, but let's write that one down for later. We don't want to forget about that.
Possum, foxes, ziplining.
We got it all.
We've had drone shows. It's just cranes going on. Yeah, there's a lot of mystique there going on with Jones AT&T, man.
And then we carve out a little bit of time for football every once in a while.
Sure.
To focus your attention on the field. All right, Chris, enjoyed it throughout the week, man. Appreciate all the time. Hope you have a great weekend, and we'll catch back up on the other side.
Yeah, stay dry, people. Enjoy the weekend, and we'll be back to figure out what went on over said weekend early next week.
Appreciate it as always. Thank y'all for being out there, and we hope to see you back for the next round on Locked On Texas Tech.